You know, there are few things I love more than waking up on old Route 66, particularly when I can wake up at one of, if not my favorite, roadside motel of all time. We're back in Tucumcari, New Mexico, which, as you'll see, is a very iconic and historic Route 66 town. Not only does this place have some of the most iconic surviving motels, restaurants, and souvenir shops, but the sheer volume of surviving buildings and signs is enough to blow away any fan of the old Mother Road. Just look back at that old postcard image I showed you from the heyday of Route 66. So much of what's in that photo still survives in Tucumcari to this day. Many of the neon signs have disappeared or changed, but a lot of the buildings are still intact. I mean, the Golden Dragon is still here for starters, and right next door in the old postcard, what was then the old Circle S Motel is still standing, although after they named it the Relax Inn, it looks like the old motel decided to relax a little too much. A little too much. Behind the old Relax Inn is a very familiar shaped building. And if the building itself wasn't recognizable enough, maybe the shape of the sign would jog your memory, because this is an old school Denny's location, still in business now as the Kicks on 66 coffee shop. Do you know what? Coffee sounds pretty good. Wow, look at the inside of this place. Classic. Do you like it or not? Denny's was America's diner. Might still be, and it's certainly still a good place to get coffee. Dude, although I gotta tell you, I prefer Kicks. Anyway, look across the street. You see that pink building over there? I've always wondered exactly what brand that old gas station used to be, but now looking back and forth at that old postcard to a shot from this morning, I can see that it was an old Standard Oil station. Once, I believe, the biggest gas station chain in America. You never see Standard Oil anymore because the company was too big. It was broken up into smaller companies. If you look at the logo in that old postcard, you can see one of them became Chevron. There's a little petroleum fact to have with your coffee this morning. Hot. Oh, holy cow, you know that coffee was good because I'm sweating now. Kicks on 66. That was good. With celiac disease, unfortunately, I stop in very few restaurants, you know, so I'm definitely adding that to my list. Places to stop in and at least have a coffee. All right, skipping the Apache Motel for just 1 second. Because I said holy cow just now, something else came to mind. One of the only other restaurants I've ever stopped in Tucumcari. My friend David from the Roadrunner and I once went over to this restaurant, Dell's Restaurant, which is a very popular steakhouse in town, and although I didn't eat any of the food, I did have a margarita in there, which was delicious. One of the very few times I ever imbibe, and I'm glad I did, because Dell's is also an epic part of Route 66 history. It's been here since 1956, and as you can see, it really hasn't changed on the outside all that much. A mighty fine place to get a steak, I tell you what. See, that is why I love old Route 66 photos and postcards so much. If you ever come across any in the wild and you got no other use for them, feel free to send them my way. Whoa, check this out. It looks like one of these old motels is getting some restoration. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think I've ever looked at this motel before, even though I've driven past it about 1 billion times. But weirdly enough, I do have an old postcard of it. It turns out this place used to be the old Tucumcari Travelodge. Check out that old Travelodge sign. That's awesome. All right, now I'm walking way further than I meant to, but you know what? Walking's good for me. I gotta walk off this coffee. As you see here, not everything in town has survived. I can't remember what used to be here where this new O'Reilly Auto Parts store is. I wish they could save every old roadside relic, no matter how dilapidated it gets, but I guess you gotta have somewhere to buy auto parts. Do you know what? I could be wrong, but I think it was the old Cactus Motor Lodge, which was a heck of a good looking place, if a little rough around the edges back when I last filmed it. I think that's what was here. Sad to see any piece of roadside America disappear. But then again, Tucumcari has so many spare, epic, old motels and motor lodges like this one here, and you can't really criticize the town for letting one or two go when they do such epic things like sprucing up and at least painting some of the old signs and buildings in town to sort of enhance that roadside experience, if you will, for travelers like us. And actually, off the top of my head, just from memory now, I can't remember if all that painting is done by volunteers, or I think the town might hire mural painters to come and do it. Then, of course, some of the sprucing up and painting is just commissioned by the business themselves. I have no idea which case this is. Was this a barber shop who spruced themselves up with murals, or did the town take an old building and paint it up? No clue. I do know that this is very, very punny. Look at that. Get your cuts. Dude, I love Roadside America, and I love mid-century architecture so much. And there are heaps of both in this town, not to mention a little element of roadside attraction as well. I have yet to stay in the historic Route 66 motel, but look how epic this is. Look at these old school planes parked out front. That's right, I said planes. I mean, you see old cars parked in front of motels all over Route 66, all over America really, but you rarely see this. Oh, look at Tucumcari Mountain back there in the background. Dude, this is a clean looking place. A lot of simple, clean, understated mid-century elegance here. Someday I'd like to see the inside, but until then, for now, I'm just gonna enjoy the plane. Oh, this one came in for a rough landing. This guy could fly, yes. Land, no. Whew, it's a much longer walk back than I thought it was gonna be. Hey, finally, we're getting back into town. Dude, as you can see, just from this little tiny eastern portion of the town that we've been in, Tucumcari has so many motels still to this day, but back in the heyday, it purportedly had over 2,000 hotel and motel rooms in town, at least according to the billboards they put up all up and down the highway saying, Tucumcari tonight! And obviously it wasn't just about a place to sleep, but also a place to resupply, a place to get gas, get your car worked on, a place to get a good rubbed butt? What? Maybe even supplement your gas money by pawning something at the old pawn shop, which you can see probably also had motel rooms at one point. Look back there. All right, and now for the Apache. Oh, the old Apache. Which is strange, because maybe I'm forgetting my history, but I thought this was Comanche territory. Just look at the size of that neon sign. Now, since the last time I was here, it seems like the building has definitely been repainted. And dog my cats if the inside isn't looking a little spruced up. It almost looks like it's ready for guests. Oh yeah, you can see new glass up there on some of the sliding doors. That even looks like new furniture. Is it possible? Could one day we witness the rebirth of the Apache? Dude, that is still one impressive sign, but it was even more impressive, as you can imagine, in its heyday, particularly lit up at night. I hope we see that happen again one day. Who knows? Dude, so far all we've seen is the extreme eastern end of town here, past the Roadrunner Lodge, which, like I said, is my favorite Route 66 motel of all time, I'm pretty sure. And I'll show you why and give you a little refresher on the inside in a little while. But as long as we're standing out here, I should mention that the Roadrunner Lodge was once known as the Leatherwood Manor. Ooh, look at that transformation. Personally, although there's no longer a pool out here, I strongly prefer the Roadrunner Lodge to the old look of the place. Maybe I'm biased, though. I'm not much of a swimmer anyways, at least not at motels. I strongly prefer the new fire pit. Look at that. I love this town. Now, a lot of people at this point have heard of David Brenner, my friend and the visionary who brought this old derelict abandoned motel back to life. But what you may not have heard is that when David acquired the old Leatherwood Manor, it came with an adjoining property, one that through all these years has been sitting here quietly and patiently waiting for its own Lazarus story. This was the historic La Plaza Court. And as you can see from surviving historic photographs, it was one of those very early motor courts that had garages, much like its more famous counterpart, the Blue Swallow Motel down the street, which we're gonna go see in just a little bit, maybe the most famous motel or auto court motel on Route 66. This is one of those earliest of motor vehicle travel motels that started out trying to lure in tourists by offering a garage right next to your door. So this would have been the garage, and then you could see the double lintels over here over what were the doorways to the rooms, which at some point were expanded to take over the garages. Now, just like the transformation with the Roadrunner Lodge over there, I believe the plan has been to restore La Plaza. It'll probably go slowly because, like everybody else, after the pandemic, they've been struggling with supplies needed to begin the work properly. But since the last time I was here, they've removed this weird fake roof that was all over the top of the building, and you can see it's looking a lot more like its former self now. I just realized I have another postcard image that shows La Plaza, but I gotta go all the way back over there behind the Relax Inn to show you. Oh, well, we might as well go. Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. There are people in the Golden Dragon. It's still open. All right, check this out. Now let's flash back to the past, to the heyday of old Route 66. And look on the right-hand side there, you can see La Plaza had huge signs all over the roof. Now that is wild. See, what happened is when they built Leathertown place next door, they built their new motel's office adjacent to and back-to-back with La Plaza's office, connecting the two, which is why you see two of these little Alamo-shaped end caps of the buildings in that old photo, and only one today, because one of them is underneath this. Dude, look at the size of those letters that must have been up there for probably quite a long time. I don't know if David has any plans to recreate giant 20-foot letters on top of the building, but we'll see. Must have been a super old school postcard, by the way, because I can see behind the circle S, the Golden Dragon had a different name. Weird. See, this is part of why I like staying at the Roadrunner, because everything we've seen so far has been walking distance from my motel room. It's only taken me about an hour and a half walking around, showing you all this stuff, using the payphone. And we've only been on the very eastern tippity tip of Tucumcari. Let's head this way now and look at some of the most famous things in town, because a couple of the most iconic buildings on Route 66 are just within walking distance the other way. The first of which is Tee Pee Curios. Behold! This iconic and much photographed structure started out as a gas station and grocery store in the 1940s, and it's still here on the side of Route 66 to this day. It even survived the widening of this highway in the 1950s when it went from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, and it's still surviving into the 21st century thanks in no small part to being guarded by the Helk. Ah!
I see you are back. Are you here to disturb my teepee?
No, Mr. Helk, sir, please don't smite me.
What tribute do you offer me?
Tribute? I have some gum.
Gum is acceptable.
Dude, look at that schnazzy neon sign. That is one of the coolest neon signs anywhere, and it's even awesome in the daytime. All right, let me go inside and get some sweet teepee swag real quick. Oh, I almost said hello to that head right there. Thought it was a person. Look at this, they have so much stuff inside of the Tee Pee Curios, and look at this. Check out this t-shirt. So much Route 66 swag to acquire. Oh, genius. Ah, the sun. All right, our next stop, like I suggested, is maybe the most famous motel on Route 66. The epic Blue Swallow Motel. The darling of postcards and calendar photos everywhere. It's got one of the most famous neon signs in the world, maybe. Which of course is much more impressive at night, so we'll come back and see it all lit up later. This is a very storied and historic motel with a lot of history, which I went into in some detail when I stayed here on a previous trip. And as I mentioned earlier, it's one of those early motels built for automobiles, and one of the very few remaining with its garages intact. It was a big deal being able to park your car under a protective roof and then pop right into your room. This isn't just one of the most gorgeous hotel stays you can have on the Mother Road. It's one of the most fun. There's a lot of stuff to do here. People come out of their rooms, they talk. It's a very friendly place to stay. And back in the past, I left a small contribution of my own to the Blue Swallow, which is still here. Beto the Burro from Oatman. He looks like he could use a new coat of paint, but he's still here right behind the office. That is awesome. All right, I'm going to interrupt our time traveling back and forth and looking in to the history of Tucumcari real quick, because there are several museums in this town, one of which I've never been to that I'm hoping is open today, that I'd like to go to before it closes. They all close kind of early. But before that, I'm gonna cross the street over here and head on into the Route 66 Welcome Center at the old former Economy Inn where apparently Clint Eastwood once stayed. Because when in Tucumcari, you've got to say hey to Flora May.
Oh, a dog! Hello! Hello, puppy!
Hey, Flora May. Oh, hey, Minnie Sue.
There's so much stuff in here. Oh, the ball again? Well, you gotta give it to me. You gotta give it to me. You gotta give it to me. Dang, this is like a good gift shop. No one ever comes in here. Look at all this swag. Oh, here we go again. She's so sweet. Look at all that soda.
Oh yeah, definitely one of the best stops in town. All right, so that I know of, there are 4 museums in Tucumcari. There's the Route 66 Museum, of course. There's a dinosaur museum in town, which is pretty awesome. And a local history museum, which is epic. But the 4th museum is in the older Main Street district, the historic, even pre-Route 66 district, which by the way is absolutely gorgeous. It is a railroad museum, which I assume is down here in the old train depot, but I may have assumed incorrectly. Let's not forget the pandemic killed off a lot of things.
Oh, we might be in luck. It's still here. Let the journey begin. Quiet and echoey places mean whispers. Wow, look at this. Tucumcari has had a long history with the railroad. I'm looking at all these pictures as if this happened far away, but it happened just outside that door. Wow, look at these blueprints and documents from the Baldwin Locomotive Works. That's the same company that built the trains at Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm. Dude, what is it about old-timey dudes where they looked old even before they were old? I mean, this guy's obviously elderly, but this dude could have been younger than me. He could have been 30 or something. You'd never know with them whiskers. Ooh, check out the lamps. Whoa, and an old Southern Pacific and Union Pacific uniform. It's not a very large museum. I mean, this is pretty much the extent of it, but it's definitely worth the $4. Look at that brakeman's cap. I want a cap like that. See, and I already have the coolest hat in the world, but the grass is always greener. Dude, look at the size of these steamer trunks. Could never fit one of those in a Mustang. Whoa, look at all these train wrecks. Reminds me of my first marriage. You know what? I don't want the brakeman's hat anymore. I want the conductor's cap. Yo no soy marinero, soy capitán. There's a little communications display in here that talks a little bit about Morse code. Look at old Morse there. Samuel Finley Breeze Morse. Even his name is old-timey. Okay, I was gonna make a joke that this looked like a spittoon. Turns out, it's a toilet. Read that. Now, I have a portable commode in the van for emergencies. It's much bigger than that. I cannot imagine leaving some fun in this thing. Ugh. Residue. It would be easy to show you literally everything in here. I definitely don't want to do that, but it's awesome. Worth the $4, like I said, and I believe the museum is expanding into the wing across the hallway eventually, so soon it'll be twice the size. It's interesting, there are a lot of old pictures in there, including some outside of the depot showing a restaurant called Two Gun Harry's somewhere over in this area. I can't tell if one of these was the original restaurant or not. It should be. It looked awesome, so I was hoping to find it. To no avail. I love towns like this, and there's tons of them in this country, which is why I love this country. When I was younger, I chose the dark path of resentfulness, bitterness. But now that I'm older and hopefully a little wiser, although I'm not sure about that, I prefer gratefulness and appreciation. And it's done wonders for me and my mental health. And although it's been a long, rough road on the quest for positivity, I highly recommend it. It's much more fun to appreciate than it is to sit around and hate. All right, look at this view of historic Main Street downtown here. At one time, I believe this was an early alignment of Route 66 as well. Look at the way that it's changed. It's surprising how many of the buildings are still here. Some of them are all sheathed up and covered up with different facades. This one in particular that you saw on the right of that picture has got this sort of corrugated metal sheathing, and then it's been stuccoed over. Same thing across the street. Those old sort of 19th century looking brick buildings sort of fell out of fashion, and particularly by the 1950s, a lot of them were covered up, you know, just to change the look. The American Cleaners and Waffle House Cafe and some of the other buildings on the left-hand side of the street look completely different than they did back in the past. And of course, we're missing one of those two-story buildings that should be right here behind where my van is parked.
but there's still the two-story building on the corner, although sadly across the street from it in that old photo you can see that big old-fashioned hotel. That has now gone the way of the buffalo, and all that's left are these great big giant arches, and it says that the inside is a park now. Just gonna walk all the way around to see. Downtown Tucumcari used to be full of big old-fashioned railroad hotels like that, big old brick buildings, many of which have disappeared, some of which the shells of remain. I'm not gonna try to hunt them all down today though, or else I'll have no reason to come back. As long as the van holds out, we should be seeing a lot more small towns like this across America in the next couple of days and weeks. So I guess it's okay for the moment to move away and head back to the later alignment of Route 66 from the heyday of the Mother Road. Man, there's a lot to see around here, including dozens of old ghost signs, old neon shells from the past that used to lure travelers off the highway, like this one here for the Ranch House Cafe, the building of which actually still stands. The old advertisement for this place says, "Good food always, always good food," and look at that. They served ice cream. Doesn't look like you can get ice cream in there anymore. Maybe hantavirus though. See, there are some very wise people in Tucumcari, New Mexico. A lot of towns just let all their stuff rot away. But as you can see, just across the street there, on the left, an old, unused, somewhat decaying building. And then on the right, one that at least externally has been spruced up and painted up to give travelers like me something to photograph once all of these ones disappear into the dust. I just realized this adventure has been stretching on forever and ever. It's not my fault. There's so many epic things to look at in Tucumcari. Can you blame me? Oh man, look at La Cita. I love programmatic architecture. That's architecture that's designed to look like something, you know, like a building shaped like a dog, something like that. And boy, since the last time I was here, they really cleaned this place up. The paint looks amazing, which must be down to Quarles Art, because I've been seeing that name on a lot of these repainted buildings. Heck yeah, dude, La Cita. And it's not just the hat in the center. That neon sign is pretty freaking epic. He's thinking you should try the food. Ooh, but speaking of food, I just remembered I need to make a visit to the grocery store in town because I'm starving. Time to head into Lowe's really quick, which is not a hardware store here and is Route 66 themed on the inside, which I always appreciate. Don't see a lot of grocery stores with carpet on the floor at home. Also, for a small town, there is a very fine selection of piñatas. One of the few things that's gluten-free in this small grocery store. Delimex taquitos. I get these every time I come to Tucumcari and dip them in these. Not very healthy, and I probably shouldn't, but I'm gonna keep the tradition going. Ooh, weird. I got the whole parking lot to myself. Now there's no fridges or microwaves in the room here at the Roadrunner. We're supposed to be hearkening back to a simpler time. It's a boutique motel. Don't look around though, I'm not ready for you yet. But there is a common room at the motel which has a microwave and a refrigerator you can keep some of your stuff in. There's room at the inn. Alright, I hope that's good. What's up, Elvis? I don't think I'm supposed to give you people food. I'm just sitting here with Elvis, watching this black cat roam around. So cute, I want to pet it, but it just won't let me. Unlike you. Oh, Elvis, good boy. Good boy. Oh, food coma. Nice to take a little rest. Although I should probably start editing some video and doing the unfun part while I'm in here, but dude, look at that view. There's a reason room number 12 is my favorite. I can see Route 66 going by, the animals roaming around out there. Now here's what the room looked like last night before I messed it up. Obviously at this point I've slept in it and kind of messed up the bed and everything like that, but boy, it's a beautiful, beautiful room. Not every room at the Roadrunner looks like this, by the way. You have to request the snazzy 60s rooms. And boy, are they ever snazzy. Look at that vintage light fixture. Just look at this countertop and the sink and all the little soaps. Sparkling clean glasses. And my favorite, the old vintage TV tray where I eat in the chairs in the other room. And then in the bathroom, there's a couple of snazzy sanitary bags so you can put your snacks in them. That's what they're for, right? And then look at this shower. Oh, it's my favorite shower on the route. Check out that snazzy shower curtain and then the tiles
in the shower, I believe, were pulled out of old abandoned pools from town here on Route 66 in Tucumcari. Dude, that is such a good idea. And this is kind of a side note, but the Roadrunner Lodge has great toilet paper. The commode, by the way, had a little sparkling clean, sanitized for your protection strip on it last night. I'm glad they protected me because I needed to use the commode. Not to be graphic about it, I think I might stick this in the van. Of course, there's a old school luggage thingy to put some of your luggage on. Some fantastic retro art and amazing neon sign photography from Route 66, which I believe you can purchase in the lobby. And part of what makes it all so special are the extras. Check out this mid-century furniture setup here. I need to get me some chairs like this at home and one of these little tables. Look at that vintage journal. I think the ladies' home journal. And then on this little table, a free Roadrunner Lodge postcard, some moon pies, and some RC Cola. Oh yeah, ladies' home journal. The whole idea behind this particular motel and the snazzy 60s rooms is that you're sort of time traveling, you know? There's a TV in here, but really that's best left unused. They've got a radio at the bedside that plays Roadrunner's own radio stations, vintage music and vintage commercials. You can read articles from a vintage magazine and even come over to this other little table inside the door and look through a couple of Route 66 magazines. And after you turn on this vintage looking fan, play a vintage board game. In this room, it happens to be Battleship, or as if the view out the window wasn't good enough, use an old school Viewmaster. Let's see here. Ooh, it's some claymation looking astronauts going to the moon and then showing samples of their work to President Nixon? Of course, there's a couple more sparkling clean glasses over here, sanitized for your protection if you brought any wine or champagne with you. Look at that goblet. There's a channel guide, which I wish more hotels would use. TV remote, you know, all the essentials. But best of all is the friggin' bed. Dude, it's such a nice mattress. I love the built-in bedside tables and those mid-century light fixtures. I really want to get some of those for my house one day. And the coup de grace, magic fingers. You've never heard of magic fingers? It's a very old school thing where there's a little motor under the bed. And if you pop a quarter in, it'll vibrate you to sleep. You know what? With the view out the window and the magic fingers working on this really, really comfortable bed, I think I might take a little nap. I might motel and sleep well early. I'll catch up with you guys at nighttime and we'll go check out some neon. Oh, magic fingers. Okay, I'm feeling refreshed, particularly because I've got a fresh shirt on. I've motelled and sleeped-welled? Yes.
And now I'm only waiting for the sun to go down the rest of the way before all the beautiful neon comes on in Tucumcari. Oh, it's beautiful here any time of day, but especially at sunset. And speaking of neon, look at the signs in the lobby here. Which reminds me, since the last time I stayed in Tucumcari, the Roadrunner has expanded their lobby into the Plaza side, basically doubling the size of the lobby. Looking forward to the day, of course, when they'll be doing double duty as a lobby for both motels. This, of course, means they can fit even more swag in here and even more artifacts from back in Route 66's heyday. Fake Tyler? Oh, also there's really great free coffee in the lobby, which I've had a lot of today. Well, I was gonna walk all the way down to the Blue Swallow and show you that neon, but I think it looks even more impressive when it's all the way actually dark, because as pretty as this is, the neon needs to be shrouded in even more mystery. Gosh, look at that sunset. Look at the sky. Ah, it's beautiful out here. Ah, who are we kidding? I couldn't wait until it was all the way dark. That might take 70 to 100 minutes from now, according to Google. And besides, this neon is already looking absolutely fantastic in this slightly more advanced twilight. Just look at this. Isn't this gorgeous? It's easy to see why this sign is world famous. You can find it on calendars everywhere from Canada to Timbuktu. And look at this, the courtyard ain't bad either. Is it any wonder that people come from around the world to take pictures of this place? Incidentally, I just met the new owner of the Blue Swallow. Well, not really new, but new since I've been here. He came running up to me, Justin, make yourself at home, enjoy the Blue Swallow. Super friendly, perfectly encapsulating, as always, just what I love about Route 66 so much. By the way, since we were talking about lobbies a little while ago, I've got to mention that there's another gift shop right here in this lobby as well, and they've got some pretty sweet swag in there. I better stay away though. I bought a lot of swag today. Now let's go down the street and look at that teepee neon. Oh, look at that. It's gorgeous, especially against that dark, cloudy sky. Which reminds me, tomorrow might be kind of crazy with rain. Hopefully we'll avoid most of it, but there's no way to know really until we get out there. Gosh, all this neon is amazing.
Yes, and you know what else is amazing? Gum.
Yeah, sure is. Dude, imagine a relit Tucumcari. Imagine if every neon sign in town could be relit. How insane and unstoppable would the town of Tucumcari be then? Dude, everyone would be flocking here in droves. I mean, just the Blue Swallow alone already brings in crowd after crowd of people. Even in the slow season, it can be hard to get a room there. But picture it if all the old derelict signs and places like the Apache and the Roadrunner that don't currently have active neon could all be lit up. It would be bangarang. Hey, dude, look at this. I've never seen Dells all lit up. That is so cool. Not that you need any more reason to stop in at Dells other than the fact that it's, you know, the town's most popular restaurant. It's been here since 1956, but that neon sure adds to the flavor. Check this out, across the street at the Palomino. It may not, strictly speaking, be actual neon, but they're getting in the spirit of things over here as well. What are those, LED rope lights? I don't know what they are, but they definitely add to the atmosphere. Ah, Billy the Kid. I went and filmed the whole Billy the Kid adventure. That was the other time I stayed over here at the Roadrunner. I forgot about that. And then there's Doc Holliday down there. He'll be important tomorrow, I hope. I just ran into some more friendly folks that were yelling my name down the street. Just keep in mind, if you ever see me anywhere, that I am sort of, you know, experiencing some hearing loss lately. So yelling my name from the distance might not be the best way to get my attention, mostly because I just can't hear. People always say, we were yelling your names. Like, oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you. Look at the Standard Oil station inside getting spruced up. Hashtag probably nothing New Mexico. I'm excited to see what that turns into. All right, gang, I want to keep talking. I want to keep hanging out. But this particular adventure has probably gone on long enough, and I'm starting to get hungry again, which is unusual for me. And considering I only have one more night in my favorite motel on the route and have to be up early tomorrow, I think it's time for me to take a seat by the fire pit for a while and then call it a night. Thanks for hanging out with me all day. Remember, the new Motel and Sleep Well t-shirts are available at store.randomland.com. You can follow other adventures on Instagram. That's all down in the links below with Patreon and all that other stuff. If you want to catch the rest of the trip, make sure that you are still subscribed. And that's it. All right, you can go now, my friends. And since I've done my duty, I can motel and sleep well. It feels good to be inside for the night, especially since the wind started blowing now. Hello? Must be the wind, like I was saying. Weird. Just want to take a nice long... Hey, what the heck? I didn't see any hoodlums here earlier. What in the world? Julio? Sorry, buddy, I didn't see you down there. Come on in and get out of the wind, you maniac. I knew you'd show up eventually, Julio. Roosters can never resist
Magic fingers. Good night, buddy. See you tomorrow.
Because of a, this looks like it used to be a pretty sweet stop. Dude, somebody decided to relax so hard they took their shoes off and forgot one of them. Why is it always one shoe? Riddle me that, Batman. It's not as far as you think it is whenever I walk away. Whew. But it's far enough to get nervous.